My parents branded me the useless, unwanted one and cast me aside. 10 years later, I walked into my sister's wedding, and what I revealed in front of everyone left them silent and completely stunned. I'm 34 now, married, doing pretty well for myself, but this story starts when I was 22 and basically considered the family screw-up. I'm talking about the kind of family that judges success purely by appearances and social status. Anyway, this is the story of how I went from being the disappointing son to having my entire family literally begging me to save them from financial ruin. And spoiler alert, the revenge was way sweeter than I ever imagined. Let me paint you a picture of my childhood. I grew up in what most people would consider a successful family. My dad, Robert Chen, owned Chen and Associates, a consulting firm that helped mid-size companies with business strategy and operations. Nothing huge, but it paid for a nice house in the suburbs and private school tuition. My younger sister, Emma, was basically the family princess, 2 years younger than me, blonde, pretty enough, but with the personality of a spoiled Instagram influencer. She studied communications in college, aka professional socializing, and spent most of her time networking at country club events and charity galas. Me? I was the disappointment. I studied business and finance, got decent grades, but I wasn't the smooth-talking social butterfly they wanted. I was more interested in analyzing investment opportunities and reading about successful entrepreneurs than playing golf with potential clients. My parents made their preferences crystal clear. Every family dinner was about Emma's latest social triumph. Emma organizing the hospital fundraiser or Emma dating the son of that prominent lawyer. Meanwhile, when I'd mention the business plan I was working on or talk about wanting to start my own consulting firm, my dad would literally change the subject. The breaking point came right after I graduated college. I was 22, had just finished my degree in business administration, and was excited to start building my career. My best friend, Tyler, had been my roommate all through college. This guy was pure gold, about 6'2", built like he played football, which he did in high school, but sharp as a tack when it came to business strategy. One day, as we were packing up our dorm room, Tyler said to me, "Your sister just asked me if I could help her get an internship at my dad's firm because she heard he was important in business. I told her he's a high school principal, and she looked confused." I was laughing about Emma's cluelessness when my dad called me for what I thought would be a congratulatory conversation about graduating. Instead, it turned into the worst conversation of my life. "Jake, son, we need to discuss your future." "Sure, Dad. I'm actually excited to tell you about some opportunities I've been looking at. That's just it. I think you should consider joining the family business instead." I was surprised. "Really? You want me to work at Chen and Associates?" Well, here's the thing. Emma's expressed interest in the client-facing side of the business, and frankly, she has the personality for it, but she needs someone behind the scenes to handle the analytical work. My stomach dropped. "You want me to be Emma's assistant?" "Not assistant, support staff. You'd handle research, data analysis, that sort of thing." "Emma would manage client relationships." "Dad, I want to build my own business. I have ideas, plans." "Son, let's be realistic. Emma has the social skills for business development. You're more of a background person. There's nothing wrong with that." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation, getting more frustrated each time. The next morning, I went to grab some coffee and clear my head. That's when I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen. "Emma's perfect for taking over the business eventually," my mom was saying. "She's charming, well-connected, knows how to work a room." "Exactly," my dad replied. "Jake's intelligent, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have the people skills for client management. Emma can be the face of the company, and Jake can handle the boring number crunching nobody wants to do." "It's perfect," my mom agreed. "Emma gets to shine, and Jake has job security doing what he's good at, staying in the background." I stood there holding my coffee mug, feeling like someone had punched me in the chest. My own parents saw me as nothing more than Emma's calculator. That's when Tyler showed up at the back door. He basically lived at our house senior year. "Morning, Mr. and Mrs. Chen," Tyler called out cheerfully, but then he saw my face. "Jake, you look like someone just told you pizza was illegal." I pulled him outside and told him what I'd overheard. Tyler listened, nodding along, and when I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Jake, brother," he finally said, "forget them. You know what we're going to do? We're going to start our own firm and build something so successful that in 10 years they'll be lining up to work for you." "Tyler, that's crazy." "Nah, man. That's justice. I've got some money saved from my construction job. You've got the brains. Let's show these people what the background guy can really accomplish." And just like that, my path was set. Tyler wasn't just talking big. The guy actually had money. He had worked construction every summer since he was 16, plus his grandfather had left him about $45,000 when he passed. Tyler had been saving it for the right opportunity. We moved to Phoenix, lower cost of living than California, growing business market, found a cheap 2-bedroom apartment, and converted the living room into our office. Tyler handled sales and client relations while I focused on strategy and analysis. Our company was called Summit Business Solutions. We specialized in helping small and medium businesses optimize their operations and increase profitability. Basically, we'd go in, analyze everything they were doing wrong, and create actionable plans to fix it. Tyler was honestly the perfect business partner. While I was naturally introverted and preferred working with spreadsheets, Tyler could walk into any room and make friends with everyone within 5 minutes. But he wasn't just a smooth talker. The guy had serious business instincts. "Jake, my friend," he'd say, walking into our apartment office at 3 p.m. After a client meeting, "Remember that restaurant owner who said our fee was too high? Well, I just spent 2 hours showing him how our system would save him $50,000 a year. Guess who just signed a contract for twice our original quote?" Tyler had this gift for finding the humor in everything, even stressful situations. During our first year, we were barely making rent, surviving on cheap takeout and gas station coffee. But Tyler would crack jokes that had me laughing even when I was stressed about paying bills. Our first major success came about 10 months in. This family-owned manufacturing company was bleeding money because their inventory management was a complete disaster. They were overstocking some items while running out of others, and their production scheduling was chaos. Tyler walked into that initial meeting wearing his best and only suit, opened his briefcase, and said with complete confidence, "Gentlemen, I hear your inventory system is more confused than a tourist in New York City. Good news is we can fix that." We landed a $150,000 contract to completely overhaul their operations. It was our first 6-figure deal, and Tyler celebrated by ordering pizza from the fancy place instead of the cheap chain. "To Summit Business Solutions," he said, raising his soda, "and to proving that 2 guys with big dreams can beat guys with bigger offices." By year 3, we had 12 employees, and were generating about $1.8 million annually. By year 5, a larger consulting firm offered to acquire us for $12 million. My share was $6 million. Tyler and I used that money to start our next venture, an investment consulting firm called Peak Capital Advisors. We help businesses and individuals make smart investments, manage portfolios, and plan for long-term financial growth. The timing was perfect. The economy was recovering, people were looking for trustworthy investment advice, and we'd built a reputation for delivering results. Within 3 years, we were managing over $100 million in client assets. "Check this out," Tyler said one morning, looking at our quarterly reports. "We just hit $200 million in assets under management." "That's incredible," I replied, still focused on analyzing a potential investment opportunity. "Incredible for us. And our commission checks are about to get very nice." "But Jake, when's the last time you talked to your family?" "I don't talk to my family, Tyler. You know that." "I know. But don't you ever wonder how they're doing? Whether they ever think about the son they wrote off?" Honestly, I tried not to think about them, but Tyler had a point. Part of me was curious about what had happened to them over the past decade. How would I even find out? Tyler grinned. "Social media, my friend. Let Uncle Tyler do some investigating." A week later, Tyler came back with a full report. Turns out Emma had married some guy named Brandon Walsh 4 years ago. His family owned a chain of car dealerships, and from the wedding photos Tyler found, they'd spent more on flowers than most people make in a year. But here's where it gets interesting. Your dad's consulting business has been struggling. They've lost several major clients, and from what I can piece together from public information, they're having cash flow problems. What about Emma's husband's family? Car dealership business isn't what it used to be. People are keeping cars longer, buying used, shopping online. The traditional dealership model is getting crushed. Tyler had discovered something else. Emma and Brandon were apparently throwing a massive 5th anniversary party next month, the kind of party that gets covered in the society pages. "Jake, buddy, this is it. This is your moment." "My moment for what?" "To show them what they missed out on, to walk back into their lives as the successful businessman you've become." I thought about it. I was worth about $25 million at this point, owned a beautiful house in Scottsdale, drove a luxury car, and ran a successful investment firm. Maybe it was time to remind my family that their background person had done pretty well for himself. How would we even get into this party? Leave that to me, I've got connections everywhere. Tyler spent 2 weeks orchestrating what he called Operation Prodigal Son. He somehow managed to get us legitimate invitations through a business connection whose family knew Brandon's parents. We're going as potential investors interested in the automotive industry, Tyler explained. Completely legitimate business interest. The night of the party, I was nervous as heck. I'd bought my first custom-tailored suit. Not the off-the-rack stuff I used to wear, but a proper $2,500 suit that made me look like I belonged in boardrooms. Tyler, meanwhile, was excited like a kid on Christmas morning. He'd gone full black tie, complete with cufflinks that belonged to his grandfather. "Jake, you look like $1,000,000, he said as we pulled up to the Grand Regency Hotel in my BMW. Ready to blow some minds? The hotel was exactly as over-the-top as I'd expected. Ice sculptures, a string quartet, enough flowers to supply a small wedding. Emma had clearly spared no expense. We walked in like we belonged there, with Tyler immediately working the room while I tried to spot familiar faces. It didn't take long to find my parents. They looked older, more tired than I remembered, but they were still playing the social game, networking with other guests. Then I saw Emma, and wow, Tyler hadn't been kidding about the whole trophy wife thing. She was wearing a dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary, covered in jewelry, working the room with that fake smile I remembered from childhood. Brandon looked exactly like Central Casting's idea of a rich guy's son, soft around the middle, already thinning hair, but wearing clothes that screamed, "My family has money." "There's our girl," Tyler whispered. "Ready for this?" We spent about an hour mingling, with Tyler introducing us to various guests as successful investment consultants from Arizona. I was starting to relax when I heard a familiar voice. Jake Chen. I turned to see Mrs. Patterson, our old neighbor who'd always been kind to me growing up. "Mrs. Patterson, what a surprise to see you here. Oh my goodness, look at you. You look so successful and handsome. What brings you to town?" Before I could answer, I noticed the conversations around us getting quieter. People were starting to stare. "Jake?" Another voice, this one much less friendly. My mother was approaching with a look of complete shock. "Hi, Mom." The awkward silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. Tyler stepped in smoothly. "Mrs. Chen, I'm Tyler Rodriguez, Jake's business partner. What a lovely event." My mom looked confused, trying to process what was happening. "Business partner? Oh, yes. We run Peak Capital Advisors together. Jake didn't mention it. We're one of the fastest growing investment firms in the Southwest." My dad had appeared now, looking equally stunned. "Jake, what are you doing here?" "Brandon's family invited us," Tyler answered before I could speak. "We're always interested in meeting successful business families. The automotive industry presents some fascinating investment opportunities." "Investment opportunities?" my dad asked, like the concept was foreign to him. "We manage investment portfolios for high-net-worth individuals and businesses," I explained, finding my voice. "We help people make smart financial decisions and grow their wealth." "You manage investments?" my mom repeated. "We manage about $250 million in client assets," Tyler added casually. "Though Jake here is being modest, he's the real genius behind our success." By now, we'd attracted a small crowd. Emma was approaching with Brandon, her smile looking strained. "Jake," she said, her voice higher than usual. "This is unexpected." "Hello, Emma. Congratulations on your anniversary." "Thank you." She looked at Tyler suspiciously. "And you are?" "Tyler Rodriguez. Pleasure to meet you. I've heard so much about Jake's family over the years." Emma's smile faltered. "Oh, Jake talks about us all the time," Tyler lied smoothly. "Especially about how you inspired him to succeed in business." Brandon stepped forward, clearly confused. "I'm sorry, Jake. Who?" "Emma. You didn't mention having a brother." The silence that followed was beautiful. Emma's face went through several expressions before settling on barely controlled panic. "Well, Jake and we haven't been close recently. We had a disagreement after college," I explained to Brandon. "Different ideas about business and family obligations." "What kind of business are you in now?" Brandon asked. "Investment consulting and wealth management. We help individuals and businesses grow their financial portfolios." "How's that working out?" my dad asked, his business instincts kicking in despite his shock. Tyler and I exchanged a look. This was the moment we'd been building toward. "Well," Tyler said casually, "our firm was just valued at $80 million in our latest funding round." The number hit them like a physical blow. My parents' eyes widened. Emma grabbed Brandon's arm for support. 80 million, my dad whispered. Million, Tyler confirmed. Jake owns about 45% of the company. I own 35% and our other partners split the rest. The math was simple enough. I was worth roughly $36 million. The rest of the party was a blur of shocked conversations and awkward small talk. Word spread quickly through the crowd. Emma's mysterious brother was apparently some kind of investment mogul. But the real drama started the following week. 4 days after the anniversary party, my phone started ringing. First my mom, then my dad, then Emma. I ignored all the calls, but Tyler was fascinated by the sudden attention. Jake, your mom left like a 7-minute voicemail, he said, playing it on speaker. She wanted to reconnect as a family and discuss potential business opportunities. This was golden. I don't want to reconnect, Tyler. I know, but aren't you curious about what they want? My curiosity won. I called my mom back. Jake. Oh, sweetheart. I'm so glad you called back. Your father and I have been talking and we realize we made some mistakes when you were younger. Mistakes? Yes. We should have been more supportive of your entrepreneurial spirit. You've clearly found your calling and we're so proud of you. The fake enthusiasm made me sick. What do you want, Mom? Well, your father's consulting business has been facing some challenges. We could really use someone with your expertise to help us modernize and expand. Your expertise in investment strategy, business growth, that sort of thing. Maybe you could consult for us or even consider a partnership. There it was. They didn't want their son back. They wanted access to my money and connections. Let me think about it, I said, and hung up. Tyler was grinning. They want you to save their business, don't they? Pretty much. This keeps getting better. The calls kept coming. Emma called next, her voice sickeningly sweet. Jake, I can't believe how successful you've become. I always knew you were brilliant. Did you? Of course. Listen, I was wondering if we could meet for coffee. Brandon and I have some business ideas that might interest you. What kind of ideas? Well, his family's dealerships could really benefit from better investment strategies. Maybe Peak Capital could help optimize their financial planning. So Emma wanted me to save her husband's failing car lots. Classic. I'll have to check our client roster, I said. We're pretty selective about new accounts. Of course, but family comes first, right? After hanging up, Tyler was practically bouncing with excitement. They're all coming to you for money. This is perfect. Perfect how? Because now you hold all the cards, my friend. Tyler had been doing more research into my family's financial situation. Chen and Associates was in serious trouble. They'd lost their 3 biggest clients in the past 18 months and were behind on rent for their downtown office. My dad had even taken out a second mortgage on the family house. Emma's situation was more complicated. Brandon's family dealerships were struggling, but they weren't broke yet. However, Tyler had discovered that Emma had convinced Brandon to invest heavily in some questionable ventures that weren't paying off. The best part, Tyler said, is that they think you're their salvation. They have no idea what you're actually planning. What am I planning, Tyler? Revenge, my friend. Sweet, calculated revenge. I'm not sure I want revenge anymore. Maybe I just want them to understand what they lost. Jake, these people treated you like garbage for 22 years. They don't deserve your forgiveness. They deserve to learn what consequences look like. That weekend, my dad called personally. Jake, son, I think we need to meet face to face. There are some urgent family matters we should discuss. What kind of matters? The kind that require family to stick together. Could you come to Dallas this weekend? I could hear the desperation in his voice. Whatever was happening, it was bad. I suppose I could clear my schedule, I said. Excellent. And bring Tyler if you'd like. We'd love to meet your business partner properly. Tyler was already packing before I hung up the phone. That weekend, Tyler and I drove to Dallas in my BMW. Tyler spent the entire trip making jokes and keeping my spirits up. Remember, he said as we pulled into my parents' neighborhood, you don't owe them anything. You're here to satisfy your curiosity, not to solve their problems. The house looked smaller and shabbier than I remembered. The lawn needed work, and I noticed a for sale sign partially hidden behind some bushes. My parents greeted us at the door with forced enthusiasm. Emma was there with Brandon, both looking nervous and trying too hard to appear successful. Jake, Tyler, come in, my mom said, leading us to the living room I remembered from childhood. Everything looked worn and tired. There were boxes in corners like they were preparing to move. After exchanging awkward pleasantries, my dad got to the point. Jake, I'm sure you're wondering why we asked you to come. The thought crossed my mind. Well, the business has hit some rough patches, nothing we can't handle, but we thought this might be a good opportunity for family to work together. Emma jumped in. What Dad means is that we could really use your investment expertise. Your background could help modernize our approach, Brandon added, and my family's dealerships could benefit from better financial planning. We're looking at expanding, but we need smart investment strategies. Tyler and I exchanged a look. Here it came. The thing is, my dad continued, we're at a crucial point. We need to make some strategic investments to stay competitive, but that requires capital. How much capital? I asked. About $1.5 million would allow us to completely restructure and reposition ourselves in the market. $1.5 million. They wanted me to give them $1.5 million.
Significant investment, I said carefully.
It's not just an investment, my dad said quickly. You'd be a full partner in the restructured business. We could rebrand as Chen & Sons Investment Consulting. What about Emma? Emma would focus on her strengths, client relations, and business development. I looked around the room at these people who'd written me off as worthless, who hadn't spoken to me in a decade. Now they wanted me to hand over $1.5 million to save them. I need to think about this, I said. Of course, my mom said. Take all the time you need. But Emma added quickly, we are hoping to move forward soon. Market timing is crucial. Translation, they were desperate and running out of time. After dinner, Tyler and I drove back to Phoenix, mostly in silence. Finally, Tyler spoke up. So, what are you thinking? I'm thinking they have incredible nerve asking me for $1.5 million. But are you going to do it? I thought about it. The money wasn't really the issue. I could afford it. But did I want to save the people who'd rejected me? Tyler, what would you do? Honestly, I'd probably tell them to pound sand. But you're a better person than me, am I though? Yeah, you are, but that doesn't mean you owe them anything. When we got home, I made a decision, but it wasn't what they were expecting. Instead of giving them money, I decided to teach them a lesson about consequences. Over the next month, I put together a plan that Tyler called absolutely diabolical but completely legal. Instead of giving my family $1.5 million, I started quietly acquiring their debt through intermediary companies. When businesses are struggling, their creditors often sell outstanding debts to collection agencies for pennies on the dollar, rather than dealing with lengthy collection processes. Through various investment vehicles, we purchased the debt that Chen and Associates owed to their landlord, suppliers, and creditors. We also bought some of the paper on Brandon's dealerships. All told, we spent about $600,000 to acquire roughly $1.8 million in debt that my family owed. Legally, that made us their biggest creditor. Jake, Tyler said, reviewing the paperwork our attorney had prepared, this is brilliant. You're not giving them money. You're becoming the person they owe money to. Exactly. They wanted family to work together. Now we're working together as debtor and creditor. The beauty of it was that we could restructure their debt on our terms or demand immediate payment if they defaulted. Meanwhile, I kept getting increasingly desperate calls from my family. Jake, honey, have you made a decision about the investment? My mom asked during one particularly pathetic call. Still evaluating the opportunity, Mom. It's just that we're facing some cash flow challenges, and timing is really critical. What kind of challenges? Some creditors are being unreasonable about payment schedules. They want money faster than we can generate it. That does sound stressful. It is, but with your investment, we could pay everyone off and focus on growing the business. What she didn't know was that I was now one of those unreasonable creditors. The endgame came on a Friday afternoon. Our attorney called to confirm that all paperwork was properly filed. It's done, he said. You now control enough of their debt that you can essentially dictate terms for restructuring or force them into bankruptcy if they default. Tyler was practically glowing. Time to make some calls. I called my dad first. Jake, perfect timing. We really need to finalize the investment arrangement. We're facing some urgent deadlines. What kind of deadlines, Dad? Creditors wanting payment by Monday or they're threatening legal action? That sounds serious. Who are these creditors? Various parties. Landlords, suppliers, banks. But Jake, if you could transfer the investment funds, we could resolve everything by Monday morning. Dad, I need to tell you something. I've decided not to invest in Chen and Associates. The silence was deafening. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not giving you $1.5 million, but Jake, we're family. We need your help. You need my money. There's a difference. That's not fair. We've acknowledged our mistakes. We want you to be part of the family business that's about to default on its debts. We're not defaulting. We just need some short-term capital to bridge these cash flow issues. Dad, What would you say if I told you that one of your major creditors wanted to meet Monday morning to discuss payment terms? I'd say we'll work something out. We always do. Good, because you have a meeting at 9 a.m. Monday with Summit Holdings. Summit Holdings? I don't remember owing money to. Summit Holdings is my company. Dad, I bought your debt. The phone went completely silent. You did what? I purchased the debt you owed to various creditors. Congratulations. Your son is now your biggest creditor. That's impossible. It's completely legal. Tyler can explain the paperwork if you'd like. Jake, you can't do this to your own family. I'm not doing anything to you, Dad. I'm offering you a business opportunity, a chance for us to work together. This is different. How? Because we're family. Exactly. And families should work together. So here's my offer. I'll restructure your debt on very reasonable terms, but Chen and Associates becomes a subsidiary of Peak Capital Advisors. A subsidiary? You work for me now, Dad. I make the business decisions. I manage the client relationships. You follow my direction. You and Mom can stay on as employees with decent salaries. You want us to work for you? I want you to contribute to a successful business instead of running one into the ground. And if we refuse? Then Monday morning, you'll be in default on $1.8 million in debt, and I'll have to pursue collection through the courts. After a long pause, he asked quietly, Would you really bankrupt your own family? Dad, you're already bankrupt. I'm offering you a chance to keep working instead of losing everything. I need to discuss this with your mother. Of course, you have until Monday morning to decide.
Emma's call was even more satisfying. Brandon answered first.
Jake, great to hear from you. Emma and I have been talking about those investment opportunities we discussed. Actually, Brandon, I'm calling about your dealerships. Oh, what about them? I understand you're having some cash flow problems. Well, it's been challenging, but we're optimistic about the future. I'm sure you are, Brandon. As of yesterday, I own the debt on your Mercedes and BMW locations. Silence. You what? I purchased your outstanding loans from the banks. You now owe me approximately $1.3 million. I could hear Emma in the background asking what was wrong. Jake, this is insane. Why would you do this? Business opportunity, Brandon, just like you mentioned, our families working together. This isn't working together, this is hostile. No, hostile would be calling the loans due immediately. I'm offering to restructure your debt. What are your terms? You sell both dealerships to companies I designate. You and Emma can stay on as managers, but you work for me. Emma grabbed the phone, Jake. You can't do this to us. Emma, I'm not doing anything to you. I'm offering you employment. Employment? We own these businesses. The banks own these businesses. I bought the bank's debt, so now I own the businesses. This is revenge. You're getting back at us. This is business, Emma. Nothing personal. Jake, please. Brandon and I are in real trouble. We need help, not more problems. I am helping. You can keep your jobs, maintain your lifestyle, but you work for me now. What if we refuse? Then Monday morning, you'll be in foreclosure on both dealerships. Monday morning, Tyler and I walked into the conference room at our attorney's office. My entire family was waiting. My parents, Emma and Brandon, all looking like they hadn't slept in days. Good morning, I said, taking a seat across from them. I trust everyone had a good weekend. Nobody answered. Our attorney spread out the documents. We have restructuring agreements that will allow you to maintain your current positions while working within the Peak Capital Advisors corporate structure. This is extortion, my dad said quietly. No, sir, our attorney replied. This is debt restructuring. My client has every legal right to collect on debts he legitimately purchased. My mom's voice cracked when she spoke. Jake, please don't destroy your family. I looked at each of them, these people who'd made me feel worthless for the first 22 years of my life. Where was that concern for family when you called me a failure? When you told people I'd never amount to anything? When you ignored me for 10 years? We were wrong, Emma said through tears. We know we were wrong. Do you? Because 3 weeks ago you didn't want a relationship with your brother. You wanted access to my bank account. That's not true. Is it, Emma? When's the last time you called me just to talk? When's the last time any of you showed interest in my life that didn't involve what I could do for you? The room was silent. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to sign these agreements. Dad, you'll work as a senior consultant in our business development division. Mom, you'll handle administrative operations. Emma and Brandon, you'll manage our new automotive services division. What about ownership? Brandon asked. You're in default. You own nothing except what I allow you to keep. My dad slumped forward. So we work for you now. You work for a successful company that values results over appearances. You'll be well compensated, have job security, and be part of something that's actually growing. They signed the papers. 18 months later, I was sitting in my corner office overlooking downtown Phoenix, reviewing quarterly reports. Peak Capital had tripled in size after acquiring Chen and Associates' client list and integrating Brandon's dealership operations into our corporate services division. Tyler knocked on my door, grinning as usual. "Your family's here for their quarterly performance review. Send them in."
My parents entered first, followed by Emma and Brandon.
The transformation was remarkable. Gone was the arrogance, the entitlement, the condescending attitudes. They looked like dedicated employees. "Good morning, Jake," my dad said respectfully. "We have the Q3 reports ready for your review." Hearing my father address me as his boss still felt surreal. "How are the numbers looking?" "Strong across all divisions," my mom replied, consulting her tablet. The consulting division brought in $2.1 million in new contracts this quarter. The automotive division is up 18% over last quarter. Brandon added, "The integrated financial services are really resonating with dealership owners." Emma spoke last. "Marketing campaigns for our premium services exceeded targets by 25%. They'd all become competent, hard-working employees. Amazing how people perform when their jobs depend on actual results." "Excellent work, everyone." "Dad, how are you finding the transition to working with larger corporate clients?" "It's challenging but rewarding. These companies have complex needs that require real expertise and careful attention to detail." Translation: he'd finally learned that business success required more than charm and connections. "Emma, how are things with you and Brandon?" "We're doing well. We've actually started talking about having children now that we have stable careers." "That's wonderful." "Nothing builds character like having people depend on you." After they left, Tyler sat down across from my desk. "They're actually doing good work," he said. "Your dad's become a solid consultant, and Emma's not bad at client relations when she applies herself. They were never incompetent. They were just entitled. Take away the safety net, and suddenly they develop work ethic. Any regrets about how this all played out?"
I thought about it carefully. Honestly, no. People now treat me with respect instead of pity. They see me for who I am, not who they thought I should be.
My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "Jake, would you and Tyler like to come to dinner Sunday? Brandon's making his famous barbecue ribs." It was the first genuine social invitation I'd received from my family in over a decade. "Tyler, want to have dinner with my family this weekend? The same family that used to treat you like a failure. The very same. And now they're inviting you because they've learned that relationships require effort from both sides." Is that what this was all about? Teaching them about effort and respect? Partly. But mostly it was about proving to myself that I didn't need their approval to be successful. That Sunday, we drove to Emma and Brandon's modest but comfortable house. Emma greeted us at the door wearing casual clothes instead of her usual designer outfits. "Jake, Tyler, come in. Brandon's out back getting the grill ready." The house was nice, but not extravagant. No expensive art, no designer furniture, no conspicuous displays of wealth. It looked like a normal home where normal people lived. Over dinner, something remarkable happened. We had an actual family conversation. No business talk, no asking for favors, no sucking up, just people talking. Emma shared funny stories about difficult clients. Brandon complained about having to work weekends sometimes. My parents asked about Tyler's girlfriend and whether I was dating anyone. For the first time in my adult life, I sat at a table with my family and felt like we were equals.